Welcome to today's explainer. You know, when you walk into a venue and order a drink, you probably don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about the surface your glass is resting on. A bar mat just seems so incredibly simple, right? It's basically just a piece of fabric meant to catch a spill. But what if I told you that a seemingly basic bar mat is actually this massive marvel of specific engineering, material science, and honestly, prime real estate for branding? Today, we're taking a really fascinating look at Standout Mats and dissecting exactly what goes into creating the absolute perfect custom-sized bar mats right here in Australia. We're going to unpack how the best Australian-made raw materials, extreme pressure, and custom sizing all come together to protect venues and seriously elevate brands. So, could a spilled drink literally ruin your most expensive asset? Well, it's actually a pretty serious consideration. Think about the environment of a really busy venue. You've got condensation pouring off ice-cold glasses, accidental knocks, overflowing pints, the whole shebang. And the bar itself, it's often made of beautiful, incredibly expensive timber. Without the right protection, all that alcohol and moisture is just going to seep right into that wood, causing warping, staining, and permanent damage that can cost thousands to repair. A bar mat really isn't just a coaster. It is the frontline defense for a venue's most valuable physical asset. And as you'll see, definitely not all mats are up to the task. Okay, let's look at the anatomy of a premium mat and see exactly how it's made. Now, what's genuinely super interesting is the top layer, which is a premium anti-pilling felt. This actually highlights a massive engineering challenge in the bar mat industry, kind of like a giant puzzle. You basically have this dual problem to solve. First off, the mat absolutely must be highly absorbent to soak up liquids. But secondly, it needs to display a brand's logo in stunning, full-color photographic print. The big issue with standard absorbent materials is that they pill. They get those little fuzzy balls of fabric on the surface over time, which completely ruins the look of the printed graphic. Standout Mats completely solves this by using a uniquely Australian-designed, absorbent wafer felt that features a super smooth laminate surface. It literally drinks up the spills, but that anti-pilling top ensures the branding stays absolutely pristine for a really long time. And we aren't just slapping some fabric onto some rubber here. No way. During the manufacturing process, they take that absorbent wafer felts and press it into the backing using a specifically Australian-designed heat press. But the key number you need to remember here is 3,200 psi. That is an incredible amount of pressure. 3,200 pounds per square inch. This intense pressure physically and chemically bonds both of these materials together to create what is essentially the most absorbent bar mat on the market. It's a totally robust, unified piece of equipment built to withstand heavy commercial use. So the real game changer is the contrast you see right here. Look at the cheap alternatives. If a mat uses an inferior porous backing, the alcohol just bleeds right through to the bar surface underneath, entirely defeating the purpose of the mat and damaging that expensive timber we talked about earlier. Plus, the graphics just fade and pill. But then look at the Standout Mats approach. They use real, 100% rubber manufactured right here in Australia for that heavy-duty backing. It creates an absolute, impenetrable barrier. Alcohol just cannot pass through it. You're getting heavy-duty protection paired with stunning, long-lasting photographic printing. Moving right along to Section 2, record-breaking custom sizes. Because Standout Mats is the actual manufacturer operating right out of their factory in Hallam, Victoria, they open up a world of unparalleled customization. They aren't limited by imported pre-cut templates. Custom-sized bar mats are totally their bread and butter. The versatility and dimensions is just fantastic. They offer everything from standard round mats without rubber edges starting at 300 millimeters, all the way up to round mats with rubber edges at 550 millimeters. But where it gets really fun is the extra large category, with standard massive sizes like 1,500 or 1,700 millimeters long. And hey, because they are the factory, if you need a totally custom size or shape to fit a uniquely curving architectural bar, they can make it happen, directly using only the best Australian-made raw materials. Okay, you want to hear a number that's going to completely blow your mind? 10 meters. That's right. Standout Mats actually holds the record for the largest bar runners in the world. They have the capability to make these runners to super large sizes, and their absolute record thus far is a massive 10-meter-long runner. They've also produced massive 8-meter runners and large 3-meter runners for major brands like XXXX. Literally, nobody else in the world makes super long bar runners quite like this. It is a huge testament to their specialized manufacturing process. Which brings us to Section 3, guarantees and extra value. Let's talk about the standout advantage. Now let's look at the business side of things for a second. We've established the top-tier quality and the massive scale. But why make the deliberate choice to go with this specific Australian-made manufacturer? Well, it all comes down to what they call the standout advantage. Beyond the physical product itself, you're getting outstanding print quality using the absolute latest methods, plus free artwork setup services. And that is a huge value add for sure. Translating a digital logo to a high-res, printed fabric format can be pretty tricky, so they also provide expert artwork advice to ensure you get the absolute best visual result. It's exactly why their quality and service are trusted by some of Australia's largest breweries. When the biggest players in the beverage industry need perfect printed mats, this is the exact standard they expect. And here is the absolute kicker, perhaps the most powerful business proposition. They guarantee, being the manufacturer, we can beat any competitive price. Because you are cutting out the middleman entirely and going straight to the factory floor in Victoria, they guarantee to beat any Australian mat supplier quote on the exact same type of product and quality. It's a bold statement, but it perfectly illustrates the financial advantage of domestic, direct-to-consumer manufacturing. Of course, your branding doesn't literally have to stop at the bar edge, right? Venues can perfectly coordinate their entire promotional footprint. Standout Mats also manufactures stunning floor posters to help your brand stand out from the crowd the second someone walks in the door. And to go perfectly with those premium bar mats, they manufacture custom stubby holders right alongside them. It allows a venue or a brewery to maintain strict, high-quality visual consistency across all their merchandise. So let me leave you with this question to chew on. How will you make your brand stand out? We've seen today that a custom-sized bar mat really isn't just an afterthought. It is a highly engineered 3200 PSI pressed, 100% Australian rubber-backed shield for your venue's infrastructure and a brilliant anti-pilling canvas for your brand's identity. So whether you are pouring pints or managing a major label, the tools to protect your assets and elevate your visibility are made right here. It really makes you rethink the spaces you interact with every day, doesn't it? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time as we continue to unpack the fascinating details behind the world around us.